نحن هلا قدام الفاشن جاليري تبع مصمم الازياء كوبي هالبيرن، بدكم تشوفوا معنا؟ يلا. Thank you so much for having us here at your gallery, Kobe Halpern.
It's a pleasure. I'm happy to have you guys here.
You were born and raised in Israel. Tell us about the moment you realized that you wanted to be a fashion designer and how living in Israel influenced or inspired you to do so.
It's interesting because there was a really clear starting point, but there's something to do before. So since I remember myself, I used to draw women's and clothes, which I'm not saying fashion because I didn't even know what fashion mean. But as a child, which I got in troubles a little bit because I was raised religious. So imagine me in a yeshiva drawing on the Bibles, women's and clothes. I always explained the rabbis that it's actually allowed me to focus and think a little bit more, and they agreed to it. So that was beautiful. But then before my bar mitzvah, so basically when I was 12 years old, I went with my mother to an atelier. And you know, it's almost cinematic to me because I remember the moments that the fashion designer was like opening the fabrics on the table, and it was magic for me. I was like, oh my God, that actually can be a job. So I have been a little bit of a dilemma between being a fashion designer and between being a psychologist. And of course, fashion won because that's my biggest passion. I was lucky enough that my parents actually supported me in this journey and allowed me to go after my dream. But to be honest, I actually feel like I'm more a shrink psychologist than a fashion designer because in the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about being sensitive. It's all about understanding people and know how to work with people.
You also were the executive creative director at Éilli fashion and Kenneth Cole.
Correct. So I moved to New York 23 years ago. I stopped counting. And my first job was at Éilli for 13 years. And then after it left and was at Kenneth Cole for almost 3 years before I started my own brand.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you now about your current inspiration and style in your designs. How do you describe your designs? Let's start with Kobe Halpern.
Sure. You know, I feel like it's clear for me that I am not chasing after a fashion trend. And I simply love to create and make women feel beautiful and look at their best. I think this allowing you to really focus on the ingredients. So, you know, for me, there is a very clear point of view of what I do, and it's consistent. It's actually always starting from my childhood. The treasure box of my childhood, both of my parents are East European, born in Israel, which I feel like in the 70s, there's such an eclectic movement, and it's all about the mix. What I love about being Israeli and my background is the fact that in Israel, there's so many different cultures and so many people that came from all over the world. So my home was very East European, and I think you can really see in the product that I do. But being part of Israel, being part of your neighborhood and your children, that their backgrounds coming from Morocco, coming from so many different places, it's actually allowed me to take this European aesthetic and shake it a little bit. Creating something that it's have this definitely ethnic feeling into it, but it's very contemporary, it's very easy, nonchalant.
What inspires you behind every fashion line?
It's always going to be a combination of my treasure box, as I mentioned before, combined with an experiment that I went through in the time of designing the collection. So in this case, I was able to go to Portugal, which was my first time that I went to Portugal. And you know, it's interesting. I think everywhere we go and travel, we're trying to find something that feels familiar and feel right for us. So in this case, I was amazed when I arrived to Lisbon. I was amazed actually with the tiles. I immediately thought that the way I the way the relationship between my design, my prints, my embroideries, and the woman body, it's the same relationship between the tiles and the architecturals, which there is a lot of respect, and the idea is about trying to bring the best. I do believe that, again, to me as a designer, I feel, if you think about it, everything that we're doing today is better than the past. Mm-hmm. But when it's coming to clothes, and I'm saying clothes and not fashion, we lost something. We lost this craftsmanship that we all have memories. And again, the memories, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. This is where we all united. Mm-hmm. We all have the same memories. We all have the same meaning of what home feel for us. Mm-hmm. And that's the way of, I believe, that fashion can connect us.
And I do love what you're saying about the nostalgia that connects all of us, and bringing the past that could also look familiar to so many cultures and so many people, and making it present. How do you make it present?
I think it's about, first of all, understand the needs of today. Like, this is the one thing that changed, you know, aesthetic details didn't really change. Mm-hmm. It's more about what you're taking these ingredients and what you cook. So again, I always like to compare to a guest because I like food so much. I don't know how to cook as well, but I love food. I think it's always something that I love to refer to because it is about the ingredients. Mm-hmm. Selecting the ingredients and then what you cook with it. And then if you're making something that it's right for the purpose, you know, light and right, that's where the success is. So I think fashion change. I think that people need change. You know, you dress differently than you've been dressed 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, in your case, you've been 5 then, so you understand
really,
what I...
but thank you.
I'm sweet. But we know what I mean. I feel like that things change. You know, you're sitting here with me right now and you're wearing denim. Mm-hmm. Probably 10 years ago you wouldn't.
Your jacket.
Of course. But that's what's feel to me contemporary. Mm-hmm. So it's about bringing this beautiful craftsmanship and detail on your jacket, and it's still beautifully tailored, but it's put together with jeans and it's look relevant and cool. So I think the idea of like knowing how to mix it together and how to put it together in a way that it's relevant for a contemporary, modern woman. Mm-hmm. That's where I think it's extremely important because her needs change and we need to celebrate that.
Now we see a lot of women are in the workforce, and this is definitely something that is happening increasingly after the pandemic, thankfully. Hopefully that, you know, the pandemic is behind us. This is also happening in the Middle East. I want to ask you about how you see this affecting fashion in general.
First of all, I would like to say that having more women in the workforce is better, period. Forget about fashion for a second. Like, if there's going to be more women doing what they need to do, I think we're all going to be in a better place. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm surrounded with women all around me that basically bossing me around, and I consider myself lucky. Yeah. So I think it's already a good formula for success. Beside that, I think that, you know, I think to me, she doesn't need anymore the power suit to be powerful. Mm-hmm. She is powerful. It's about her feeling powerful. I can just be there to help her to be beautiful and actually to soften her up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think the beauty about fashion right now that, you know, it's not about the power suit, but it is about the blazer, it is about the jacket. The same way you are wearing right now jeans and jacket, you can wear a beautiful soft dress with a blazer on it, and it's super feminine, but in the same time, you also feel very appropriate being in a work environment.
The Abraham Accords brought peace between Israel and Arab countries, and other countries are expected to follow. How do you see this peace that is flourishing in the Middle East now inspiring fashion?
I think, first of all, it's a dream. And I feel like, I think that, you know, as father for 2 girls, it's giving me hopes that we are raising the next generation into a better place. Because we are family. And for me, not to be able to celebrate this family is so upsetting for so many years. And what's happening lately just really motivates me and giving me hope and excitement that we can live in a better world. I think we all deserve it. For sure, my girls deserve it. And I do everything that I can to educate them, to expose them, to be open to it, and I'm inspired every day by looking at my two girls and see how better they are than the way I used to be. So there is hope, and this is just the beginning. So when we will be smart enough to create with respect to other cultures.
We do in Yalla too.
Yalla.
Yalla.
You know, Yalla it's actually, like, don't ask for royalty after it, but Yalla is my favorite word.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, you know, it's action. You know, it's like, come on, let's do it.
Yes,
So, you
let's
know,
go.
like every time with my team, when I create, when I work, it's like, let's go, let's do it. Yalla is the most, again, it's all, I guess, depends on which way you're saying
Yes.
it. To me, the only way of saying it is in a positive way.
Yes,
Yalla, let's do it.
exactly.
Let's go and do it. Let's make it happen.
You are in Bloomingdale, and Neiman Marcus, and Saks Fifth Avenue. Where else do we see Kobe
I'm
Hhalpern?
counting on you to get me
and
connection to the Middle
Middle
East,
East,
because I
exactly.
feel like, again, my fashion and what I do is definitely something that I can see a huge opportunity there. And again, I'm just looking to be there, so I have an excuse to visit and
Yes.
spend time there. So it's definitely on our, we're definitely right now focusing on expanding. You know, to be honest, the whole COVID was definitely stopped us.
Yes.
Which I think it's okay. You know, we have been able to read things and we do things in a different way, but we are ready.
So can we go to the speed round? We have a speed round of questions.
Sure.
And then we'll be off to looking at all
Sure.
the beauties here. Who's your favorite fashion designer, now or historically?
You know, I respect everybody and I always can learn from everybody, but I think that Yves Saint Laurent was somebody that, again, it's interesting because now I understand even more why I like Yves Saint Laurent. It's because the connection. Yves Saint Laurent created with a lot of connection to Marrakesh, to Morocco. And again, the mix between Paris and the Middle East was very strong. So I never really realized that as much. But I think that Yves Saint Laurent was the one that basically started ready to wear. So bringing from couture into being able to be part of your closet, every woman's, more women. So I think that's definitely the one. But now I understand why.
One thing you think everyone should think about when they are getting dressed up in the morning?
Smile. I think it's you know, again, clothes are important, but I think it's really about like looking at the world with a smile. And that's the best accessories, the smile.
Actually, my upcoming question was, what's the woman's favorite or most important accessory in your opinion?
So, you know,
It's a
I already gave
smile?
you the smile, yes. Everything else is changeable.
Yes.
The smile, it's in you. It's inside you, and I think that's the most important things.
What do you think people should never wear?
I think they should never wear something that doesn't make them feel comfortable. Again, it's reflecting. We keep talking about the smile, but it is like when you wear something that it doesn't feel right for you, don't force it. I think it doesn't matter what your friends say, and what the stylists say, what the fashion designers say. It is about you. You need to feel good. Okay, and it's a process. You know, sometimes it can be a journey for you to understand yourself. But when it doesn't feel right, just don't wear it.
If you were not a clothes designer today and a fashion designer, what would you have been doing?
Psychologist.
Psychologist. And you know this because you do connect both?
I love people, and I love being able to help. I think this is like, you know, I love immediate satisfaction. So when you have this connection and you can hear somebody and understand and be able to advise and be able to help him understand, I think that's something that it's so meaningful. So, yeah.
Psychologist. You mentioned your daughters. I wanted to ask you, what do they think about your work? Are they your biggest critics or fans?
I think they put me grounded. So I feel like they give me both. You know, there's moments that I feel like they think they don't say it ever, but I can see it in their eyes that they actually feel highly about me. So these moments are so special and I cherish them. But then they make me feel like I don't know anything. So it's like a good balance. And I think that's kind of like what we all need in life.
So great to have you.
I appreciate that,
Thank you so
know.
much for having us here.
I always enjoy the opportunity of having these interviews because I learn more about myself and I really appreciate because there was some unsolved things for me that I didn't understand about my background, my journey, and this conversation really helped me to connect the dots. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
One, two, three.
Yalla.
Yalla.